Whether it be a hidden mystery uncovered at long last, a clue to the past uncovered after being buried for years, or a scientific breakthrough that enhances our understanding of our own selves, humans are always learning and discovering new things. Scientists, explorers, and even seemingly regular individuals are constantly seeking new information and solving age-old mysteries. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be looking at 3 interesting discoveries and what questions they answered, or in some cases, created. Abandoned town in the Great Smokey Mountains. It might seem hard to believe that an entire town could slip from the public's memory, but the truth is that we likely cannot even imagine the number of forgotten, abandoned, and undiscovered places that lie hidden on this earth. However, one American hiker stumbled upon an entire town of sorts that was hidden deep inside the Great Smokey Mountains. Jordan Lyles was on a seemingly ordinary hike through a trail in the Great Smokey Mountains National Park in Tennessee. He set out on an unmarked gravel road that he happened to come across, which he was astonished to discover turned out to be the back entrance to an entire abandoned neighborhood, complete with a hotel. Luckily, he had brought along a camera and was able to video and photograph his adventure into the forgotten American town. The buildings featured in his video were part of a town called Elkmont that was built over 100 years ago, and the hotel was called the Wonderland Club. And although the town of Elkmont was abandoned and largely forgotten except by those locals and experienced hikers familiar with the area, it was not always this way. Elkmont used to be a popular spot for the wealthy families of nearby Knoxville and Asheville to come during the summer and escape from the stifling city heat into the relative cool of the shaded mountains. The town is not really a town so much as it is a community of cabins and vacation homes in the woods. These houses were built 20 years before the Great Smokey Mountains National Park was founded, and the park included the land that the cabins sat on. The families were allowed to lease from the park and keep their cabins for decades until the 1990s, when the National Park Service ended their leases and forced the hotel and tenants of the cabins to permanently lock their doors and move out. Although the area was only abandoned in the last 30 years, most of the cabins and homes are original to when Elkmont was first established in the early 1900s and are well over a century old. Although Lyles did not technically rediscover the interesting location, as park officials and locals knew about it and visited occasionally, the historic cabins and homes have sat vacant, abandoned, and largely forgotten to the general public for decades. The few visitors that it gets these days are still a far cry from the bustling and welcoming home away from home that the town was used to experiencing in its peak. The National Park Service plans to preserve around 19 of the original 74 buildings at the site to protect some of the historical value of the vacation town that has sat abandoned for decades. In the meantime, Lyles developed the video footage that he took of his adventures into the town into a short documentary called Tennessee Wonderland, which went viral and alerted many people to the presence of an entire abandoned town hidden in the tranquil mountains in Tennessee. Lyle's video inspired many people to get out and discover what may lie hidden right under their noses in their towns or even in their very backyards. Stone tools discovered in the Sahara Desert. A very early relative of Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, evolved an astonishing 2 million years ago, and is largely believed to be the first humanoid species that travelled the world, beginning in Africa and travelling into many far-reaching parts of Europe and Asia. Although their bodies were physiologically similar to modern human bodies, they had a smaller brain and a larger, heavier forehead than we do today. Nevertheless, they are considered the first step in the evolution of the human species, and it is believed that several intervening species, such as Heidelbergensis and Homo antecessor, resulted from the travels of Homo erectus. Because of this, scientists and anthropologists carefully study the movements of Homo erectus and look for any clues as to where they went on their migrations and what they might have been doing along the way. The latest of these clues was discovered when hundreds of ancient stone tools were uncovered by miners reopening a previously abandoned Saharan desert gold mine in northeastern Sudan. There was a veritable trove of the tools, from cleavers to hand axes and many stone flakes, that led archaeologists to believe that the area might have been a workshop where the tools were chiseled. These flakes are known archaeologically as debitage, and can give researchers clues as to the craftsmanship and style of the resulting tools. The area was very carefully excavated, and the sediment layers above the tools were analysed for any clues that could give researchers insight into the activities of the hominids that created and used them. And what they discovered was both shocking and exciting. The sediment layer above the site dated back almost 400,000 years, meaning that the tools themselves are almost certainly much, much older. One professor from the Institute of Archaeology of the University of Wrocław guesses that, based on the workmanship displayed in the tools, they are between 700,000 and a staggering 1 million years old. This would mean that this workshop is the oldest known record of tool manufacturing in the region. Part of what makes this find so exciting is that usually tools and other artifacts found in deserts cannot be accurately dated, as the sediment layers have mixed over time and distorted the chronology. However, because these were found deep underground in a gold mine that has been carefully excavated in order to safely dig down and search for the ore, the deep sediment layers were still intact, and an accurate evaluation was able to be made. It appears that the Homo erectors that were using this workshop of sorts broke off quartzite cores and chiseled them into cleavers and other tools featuring a transverse edge, and archaeologists believe that the site was also used for working with wood, bones, and other organic matter that was not preserved so well in the intervening years. However, the remaining stone is definitely a major find that can tell us a lot about how these first hominids lived and worked as they slowly evolved into the Homo sapiens of today. DNA mutations in the human genome. Scientists have always been fascinated with how we evolved into the creatures we are today, but genetic breadcrumbs are much harder to follow than finding tools and artifacts hidden in mines. In an attempt to solve this problem, scientists with Globe Institute's Geogenetics Center at Denmark's University of Copenhagen developed an artificial intelligence program that can help pinpoint these breadcrumb clues in the modern-day human genome by comparing it to our older, extinct ancestors, such as the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. They were specifically looking for evidence of adaptive introgression, where intermingling of early human species resulted in genetic changes imparting an adaptive advantage for the survival of humans. As humans evolved, mutations that conferred beneficial advantages were more likely to remain in the gene pool and increase the survivability of ancient humans. Similarly, interbreeding with other species of humans would add new genetic material from a more established gene pool that might have certain preferable advantages. Neanderthals and their less prolific cousins, the Denisovans, were living concurrently thousands of years ago with Homo sapiens, and it is assumed that the three species interbred when they encountered each other, making it highly likely that modern humans still carry some Neanderthal and Denisovan genes in our DNA. Before the development of the artificial intelligence program, scientists could only estimate the levels of adaptive introgression, and believe that it is likely that up to 40% of Neanderthal DNA survives spread out through the collective human gene pool, although any given individual would have much less than this 40%. The artificial intelligence program they created is highly trained in order to accurately locate regions where adaptive introgression could have occurred and link these instances to potential Neanderthal or Denisovan DNA. Fernando Racimo, a geneticist with Geogenetics Center working on the project, firmly believes that the AI program will uncover interesting new findings, saying, "Our method is highly accurate and outcompetes previous approaches in power. We applied it to various human genomic datasets and found several candidate beneficial gene variants that were introduced into the human gene pool. These candidates were then studied, and although some of them were already sites known to researchers, there were several sites that surprised the researchers. The program found strong adaptive introgression candidates from Neanderthals in European genomes that affect blood and blood cell counts, and Denisovan introgression in Melanesian genomes that affect such critical functions as blood-related diseases, tumor suppression, skin development, metabolism, and many neurological diseases. However, further studies into what these findings mean for evolution and the human race are ongoing. The Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA mutations are likely beneficial where they are present in carriers, as they have remained for tens of thousands of years, and the scientists with geogenetics hope to be able to work backwards to gain an understanding of how the genes of ancient hominids might have affected their survival. But what do you make of these uncovered discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.